Welcome to PraDa Law Live. I'm your host, Jackie Mendez. Today we have an excellent show lined up for you guys. And before I introduce our attorneys, I just want to go ahead and remind you that there's a number on your screen. Give us a call. The number is 888-88-LEGAL. And that number, ladies and gentlemen, that call is free. The consultation is free. I'm going to go ahead and introduce first Daniel Silver, one of our partners here at PraDa Law.
Happy to be here with you. Thanks for having us.
Of course, Alexis Garcia.
Hello, Jackie. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
And the lovely Jennifer Pratt.
Thank you, Jackie. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, today we are going to be talking about bankruptcy law and family law. And I'm going to go ahead and give it off to Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And that's right, we have a great panel this evening as well, talking about family law and bankruptcy. So I invite you to call now. The number's on the screen. First consultation is free. You have absolutely nothing to lose. We have Attorney Silver here with nearly 17 years of experience, and we have Attorney Garcia here with nearly 11 years of experience, both in their trade. And they're here to talk to you. They're here to talk about their cases, talk about the way that family law and bankruptcy intertwine. And you might be wondering, how in the world? But let's start off talking about something that any and everybody involved in a family case will have to file in Miami-Dade County or the state of Florida, quite frankly, whether it's a paternity action, a divorce, time sharing, child support, alimony, and that is one of my favorite documents filed in the court, the financial affidavit. Now, Attorney Silver, we were talking before the show started about the importance of the financial affidavit. I'd like you to briefly tell us about what a financial affidavit is. What are some of the things that you're going to be looking out if you're the other side looking at a financial affidavit? And then I'd like Attorney Garcia to touch on how a financial affidavit may or may not be relevant in a bankruptcy proceeding post a divorce.
Excellent question. Thank you. So, whenever you have a child custody dispute that has child support or perhaps alimony, both parties exchange mandatory disclosure. And the first item is a financial affidavit. And that financial affidavit is going to be the most important financial document filed in your case, because at some point you are going to appear before a judge. That judge is going to not know you, never met you, but with the financial affidavit will review 8 to 10 pages and have an entire snapshot of your financial wherewithal. So what is a financial affidavit? First, it shows who you are, where you are employed, what your income is, what your tax deductions are, what your monthly expenses are, what your monthly liabilities are, additionally what your total assets are and total liabilities and total net worth. So this is a sworn statement. If you file a fraudulent financial affidavit, then years later it will provide a basis for anyone to come challenge your agreement, and their financial affidavit will be scrutinized, especially if you are self-employed. If you have a W-2 and you have a set defined earnings, that's one thing. But in family cases, if you are self-employed and you run your own business and you have the ability to manipulate your own income, then your financial affidavit is going to be highly scrutinized, and it is very important that you make extra care to execute it honestly and truthfully.
Thank you, Attorney Silver. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, there's a number on your screen, and that number is 888-88-LEGAL, and that number gets you that free consultation. Call is free, consultation is free. Jennifer.
That's right. And so like Attorney Silver said, this is going to be one of the most important documents filed in any family case. A lot of it stems because this is where you get to tell the judge, you get to tell the court your financial picture, what you make, your expenses, what your day-to-day life, month to month looks like. But it also hinges on your credibility. Because if I'm able to go to court and show to the court that, to the judge really, that you have lied or misled any of the information on that financial affidavit, which you swore under penalty of perjury, you could find yourself in some trouble. And in fact, speaking about some trouble, Attorney Garcia, financial affidavits that are filed in family cases sometimes become relevant in bankruptcy court. How do you use financial affidavits?
Absolutely. Well, you want to see an experienced attorney who understands the workings of the two cases, because even if the divorce has been finalized for up to 4 to 6 years, your trustee will ask to review the financial affidavit. One of the questions is, when you were how have you been divorced? When were you divorced? And please provide that final judgment and financial affidavit. So whether your affidavit should resemble or mirror your bankruptcy petition all depends on filing. So if we have some individuals just in the middle of their divorce want want to file bankruptcy too. That's going to be so important for the bankruptcy attorney to review that financial affidavit, because if you have conflicting information there, you're going to lose credibility in bankruptcy court and in your family court. So that's of the utmost importance. Another time is, even if the family court has been closed for some time, the family case, the bankruptcy judge will still look at it and the final judgment. What assets did you say you have? Well, what happened to them? Because if the family court didn't dispose of the assets, well, then you should have those assets on your bankruptcy petition. Are they there? Were they disclosed? So it's just of the utmost importance that all of these documents are looked at prior to filing the bankruptcy.
And one thing that you just said about conflicting evidence. So we had a family law case where the other side filed a financial affidavit saying that they made $75,000 a year from self-employment. Well, we also found a car lease application saying that they made $160,000 a year. So that was impeachment material. It was it basically just took the wool under their took the wool out of their financial affidavit and basically showed that it wasn't credible. So whenever you're filing a financial affidavit under oath, you need to make sure that any applications or credit applications, car applications are in line with that financial affidavit. Otherwise, you could be in for a lot of trouble.
Attorney Silver, definitely, ladies and gentlemen, you want to protect your assets, and the way you can do that is by calling the number on your screen. That number is 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. We have attorneys waiting for to answer you, to help you with any questions you may have.
That's right. Thank you, Jackie. And that's why it's so important that you have an experienced and knowledgeable attorney handling your family case, handling your bankruptcy case, because without that experience, they wouldn't know to look at that financial affidavit. They'd throw you to the wolves, let's say. And it's so important because if you're saying that you're out of assets, you have no money in the bankruptcy, but then I look at your financial affidavit and you've got millions of dollars in homes or hundreds of thousands, I mean, what can that do in the context of the trustee?
Oh, absolutely. What's going to happen is when they find assets that were not disclosed, your trustee is going to file an adversary complaint against you. And the last thing you want is an adversary. What an adversary is the trustee's taking away your right to receive a discharge, and you may have another judgment entered against you.
Well, Jackie, we're going to be coming up on our first commercial break. We'll be right back. But when we get back, we'll continue to discuss how family law and bankruptcy intertwine. We'll talk a little bit about more adversaries. It's one of my favorite areas of bankruptcy. We'll be right back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size. We know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera de 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live. Once again, I'm your host, Jackie Mendez, and today's show is about bankruptcy and about family law. And before I take it away, take it to Jennifer, I want to make sure that you guys are going to call that number on your screen, which is 88-LEGAL with any questions that you may have. We're ready to answer and ready to help. Isn't that great? Jennifer?
That's right, Jackie. And remember, the first consultation is free. You have nothing to lose. We'll take a look at your case, see if we can help you, and hopefully we can. We'd love for you to be a part of the PraDa Law family. And before the break, we were talking about family law and how it intertwines with bankruptcy. And we were also talking about financial affidavits. But Attorney Garcia said one of my favorite words, and that is the word adversary inside of bankruptcy. Now, this is not where we want any of our cases to go, but sometimes there are adversaries inside of bankruptcy. Could you briefly tell us, Attorney Garcia, what is an adversary and what are some of the things that you look out to avoid our clients ending up inside an adversary?
Absolutely, thank you. Well, the background, the diligence you have to perform before you file a bankruptcy is just so much more important than the actual bankruptcy. I mean, what an adversary complaint does is it can be brought by one of your creditors, and in most cases, the Chapter 7 trustee will bring the adversary, and the trustee will allege that the debtor, you, the individual in bankruptcy, has done something that has caused them to lose the right to receive a discharge. That means you have to remain with your debts. Now, what are these things to lose the right to a discharge? Well, it's several. I mean, misinformation on your petition, so we can speak to those financial affidavits. If you fail to disclose bank accounts that the trustee learned about later because the trustee saw your financial affidavit and you said, oh, well, that's joint with my spouse and they're not in it. Well, it doesn't matter. Your name's on it, so that should be on there. If you have been squandering your assets or getting rid of your assets, for example, if you've transferred something to your neighbor or sold something below value to your neighbor, these are all things that can affect your case. If you've misrepresented to some of your creditors too. So you want to make sure there's a whole slew of actions that can lead you to an adversary, and trust me, that's not where you want to be.
What about transferring money? I know that a lot of people, for a divorce as well, we can talk about that as well, they'll try to transfer assets or money thinking that if I get rid of it, then I can file. What about that?
No, that's the worst idea, because what happens now is we have what's called the clawback power. So if you try to transfer a vehicle or money to get rid of it because you don't want the bankruptcy court to see it, the trustee can come in, file an adversary, step in your shoes, is how you would say it, and claw back that asset. So if you transferred a property to somebody or all your money in account to another account, the bankruptcy trustee will come in, not will only sue you, will also sue the individual you transfer the property to, and will bring the property back into your bankruptcy estate.
Claw back.
Yes.
But what does claw back mean?
Claw back. Claw that from the other person back into that bankruptcy estate. What happens when it's in the bankruptcy estate? It's liquidated and it's administered and it's used to pay your creditors.
Wow. Okay. So we definitely want to protect those assets. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And the way you can do that is by calling the number on your screen, 888-88-LEGAL.
And, you know, we have a similar situation in the family context where we've got clients all the time that say, well, what about my expenses? Isn't that taken into account? And I have a lot of clients that will preliminarily give me their financial affidavit, and they'll have, you know, enormous expenses. And they think that the least amount of money they show on paper, that necessarily means that somehow, some way, it's going to lower their child support or their alimony support obligation. We also have a lot of people that own their own business. And let me tell you, we've seen it here at PraDa Law. Daniel and I have seen where there are some financial affidavits that are filed by opposing parties that you're just like, how did their attorney allow them to file this? They totally ignore certain specific things, such as Daniel's favorite, line item 13 on the financial affidavit. Please, Attorney Silver.
What's that?
What is line item 13?
He perked right up.
And that's okay, so basically, look, if someone is self-employed and they own their own business, they have the ability to manipulate their own income. And if at the end of the year, they have $200,000 worth of gross receipts, but they buy heat tickets, expensive meals, hotels, travel, it's all deductible for the IRS, and that's fine. But point being, in family court, all that gets added back to your income. So what Jennifer was saying was that when a case comes into our office and we're representing the spouse that doesn't own the business, and the spouse that owns the business files a financial affidavit, and they say they make $10,000 a month, but line item 13 is reimbursed expenses or in-kind payments that reduce your personal living expenses. If they have a zero, they are basically just giving our firm an invitation to retain a forensic accountant, because everyone under the sun who owns a business runs personal expenses through a business. That's why you own a business, and it's fine. But point being, if you don't include your gas expense, your phone expense, your home office expense, and your meals, your travel, and your entertainment, and you don't add that back in for a reasonable amount, you're basically giving the other side a license and a reason and a good faith basis to file a motion for a forensic accountant and have a forensic accountant audit your business, and that's going to cost you an arm and a leg and a lot of time as well.
Wow, well, that's very good information to know. I'm an entertainer, so I'm going to definitely make sure I add all those expenses. And ladies and gentlemen, this is PraDa Law Live. Jennifer Pratt.
That's right. And, you know, we can talk on and on about this. We're going to be taking a short commercial break. And when we come back, I want Attorney Silver to tell us a little bit about imputation of income. We'll be right back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size. We know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
Welcome back to PraDa Law Live. I'm Jackie Mendez, your host for today's show, and we have been talking family law and, of course, bankruptcy law. Ladies and gentlemen, that number that's on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL, that's the number that's going to answer all the questions that you may have. The consultation is free. The call is free. And let's give it back to Jennifer.
Thank you, Jackie. And before the break, we were talking about the intricacies of family law and bankruptcy and whether or not these elevated or lowered expenses and the things that people, you know, the misconceptions that people have. And during the break, Attorney Garcia and I were discussing when you file a bankruptcy, you also have to disclose your expenses, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And what are some of the issues people come across in bankruptcy in terms of this, disclosing or raising or lowering their expenses?
Well, you can run into the same issues Attorney Silver was speaking about if you're 1099 or you're self-employed in a bankruptcy, because you can see that. And again, a lot of the expenses you use to lower your income that they're personal cannot be used to lower your income for means test purposes on a Chapter 7. So you cannot use personal expenses to reduce your 1099 income to meet the 7 guidelines. Okay?
What do you mean personal expenses? Like, give me an example.
Well, you know, you can use some gas, but, you know, you drive, you know, all of your gas isn't run through your business, you know. All of your meals are not run through your business. Things like that. You can't run your utilities at your home through your business. You know, maybe if you work at home, right? Maybe if you work at home and for tax reasons, part of your utilities can be reduced, but not the CMI for your means test. So
what about work clothes?
Work clothes, right, that can be, but not all of your clothing. So exactly, you want to be careful and you want to know what expenses you can lose to your this. Now, a W-2 is going to be much easier. W-2 employees doesn't matter. The other thing is your expenses are also going to be scrutinized by the bankruptcy court, because you want to make sure that, Florida, we have pools. You can file bankruptcy and still have a pool and protect your homestead. But if you're spending $450 a month on pool maintenance, a court may have an issue with that because you can't pay your creditors, but you have very high. They're not telling you you can't have a phone, you can't have cable, you can't maintain your property. You can do all these things, but you have to be reasonable. You're living at a different standard because you're seeking bankruptcy relief.
Right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, that number is 888-88-LEGAL. That's the number that you need to call for that free consultation. And the call's free. So we have a bunch of lawyers, very, very professional lawyers, ready to take your call and answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Jackie. And before the break, we also, I promised you that we were going to talk about imputation of income. And this is one of my favorite things in family cases. And it's when you get the typical parent, it doesn't matter, I don't discriminate, man or woman, where they, the divorce gets filed or the paternity action's about to get filed, and all of a sudden they quit their job, they lost their job, they're no longer making $60,000 a year, $80,000. Now they're unemployed or making minimum wage. And what happens is in these cases is that you need an experienced attorney that can really take a look at that other party's financial situation and really determine whether or not, in fact, this is really their income, because we're going to base child support and alimony on the party's income. And one of the things I love to do, Attorney Silver, is impute income. What is imputation of income, and could you give me an example of when we've used it in the office?
Sure. So imputation of income is basically assigning a larger income to someone who is voluntarily unemployed or underemployed. And let me give you an easy example. Let's say you and I have a child together, and
Our child,
of
of course. I remember from the last show.
So
Continue.
all of a sudden it comes time for me to pay child support, and I say, well, you know what?
Hell yeah.
I'm giving up this law profession. I'm going to go get myself a minimum wage job at a restaurant. I make minimum wage from here on in, and that's what I'm paying child support on. A court would say, Mr. Silver, you are voluntarily underemploying yourself. And that's fine. You can go ahead and earn minimum wage, but I'm going to tack child support on like you're earning X amount of dollars as an attorney. So, but given, it's a very difficult thing to do. Imputing income, sometimes you may need a vocational expert to show that the jobs available in the community are such that the person that they're trying to impute income can receive. And one of the biggest the hardest things right now from an attorney perspective with coronavirus is a lot of people are getting laid off or losing their jobs involuntarily. So if it's involuntary, you may not be able to as easily impute income as a voluntary situation as someone just quits their job and says, I'm just not paying.
Wow, so if I'm a doctor and then I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, oh, I want to be a bar singer today. I want to go ahead and just, follow my dreams as a musician. And
should have done so before you had that child support obligation.
Okay, I see.
And one of, again, a difficult thing is if you are going to impute it, the person who's trying to impute income has the burden. And a lot of times an expert witness may be necessary because there's two prongs to imputing income. The first, what is your experience, your expertise, your education, your resume? What entitles it? What qualifications do you have? That first prong is pretty easily proven. The second prong is harder. The second prong is showing that there is a job available in the community and this person can acquire that job. And job postings are hearsay, so a lot of times you may require a vocational expert in order to properly impute income. But if you're talking about a child that's 6 months old and a child support obligation that's going to be for 18 years, well, that expert may be necessary.
So much, Attorney Silver. Very valuable information. Ladies and gentlemen, consultation is free. The call is free, and the number is 888-88-LEGAL. We're ready to answer any questions you may have, and we're ready to represent you.
And we're coming up on the end of our show, and I can't believe it. When you're having fun and learning so much like we've learned here today about bankruptcy and family law, time just goes quickly. So before we leave, Attorney Garcia, I just want to know, is there anything you want to tell the folks about bankruptcy? What about child support, alimony? Can I get rid of that in my bankruptcy?
Okay, no, I will not get rid of your child support or alimony in a bankruptcy, but if you're behind, I can help you catch up in a bankruptcy. And, just be very careful. Disclose all your information. Disclose things properly. Over-disclose to your lawyer so your lawyer knows how to present the case properly.
That is great advice. Over-disclose so we can strategize. Don't let us get caught in court not finding out something. 10 seconds, Attorney Silver.
If you are self-employed and you are filling out a financial affidavit, you should not do so without an attorney and perhaps the assistance of a forensic accountant, because once you file a financial affidavit, that's it. And it could be cross-examined and you could be used against you and could set aside all sorts of things.
Wow. Thank you so much, Attorney Silver, Attorney Garcia. The number's 888-88-LEGAL. The consultation is free. The call is free. Jennifer Pratt.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great evening.